Chapter 16. The end of the war, the beginning of peace. The silence in the chamber was not just the absence of noise. It was the cessation of a war that had spanned centuries. The vortex of cursed energy was gone, absorbed into Yuji Itadori. The oppressive presence of Kenjaku was no more, his consciousness a single, lost echo in the vast sea of a self-contained curse. The sorcerers stood in awe, their bodies battered, their minds exhausted, but their spirits unbroken. They had faced down the greatest threats in their world, the king of curses, and the mad architect of its destruction, and had won. Yuji, the world's new vessel, sank to his knees. The faint, ethereal glow that emanated from him was not a sign of power, but of an immense internal pressure. He had contained the storm, but the storm still raged. His cursed energy was no longer just his own. It was the sum total of every malevolent thought, every single curse from the Culling Game. He was a prison of despair, but in this prison, there was also a profound peace. He had saved them. He had saved everyone. Yuta was the first to reach him, his hand trembling as he placed it on Yuji's shoulder. He felt it, a colossal, unyielding reservoir of power that was terrifying in its scope, yet was held in perfect, unshakable balance. "You did it, Yuji," he whispered, a tear of relief and awe in his eye. "You saved us all." The others gathered around, their faces a mix of exhaustion and triumph. Maki, her knuckles scraped raw, simply laid a hand on his back in a silent show of solidarity. Hikari, his manic energy finally spent, leaned against a wall, a single, exhausted laugh escaping his lips. Higuruma and Hana, their roles as the tactical specialists fulfilled, looked at him with a respect that transcended their previous strategic alliance. The next few weeks were a blur of recovery and reorganization. With Kenjaku and his Culling Game nullified, the Jujutsu world was in a state of unprecedented chaos. The barriers were gone, the colonies were no longer sealed off, and the cursed spirits that had been part of the ritual were either exorcised or contained within Yuji. The balance of power was gone, and a new one had to be forged. The sorcerers, once scattered and fighting for their lives, came together. Yuta, as the new figurehead, worked with the remaining elders to establish a new council. Their new paradigm of collective strength and ethical responsibility became the core of this new world. Jujutsu High was no longer a secret society. It was the central hub for a new generation of sorcerers who would be trained not to be solitary heroes, but to be a part of a team, to understand that their power was meant to serve, not to dominate. As for Yuji, his new role was a quiet, solitary one. He was a living vault, a spiritual anchor for a world that was slowly beginning to heal. He could still fight, his punches now carrying a world-ending power he was too afraid to use. He was a hero, but a tragic one, a living monument to the war he had won. He spent his days watching over Megumi's soul, now contained in the obsidian stone, a constant, flickering reminder of the friend he had saved, but could not return to. The final scene of the chapter is a quiet moment of reflection. Yuji sits on a cliff overlooking the rebuilt city, the wind whipping through his hair. He holds the stone in his hand, his gaze fixed on the horizon. He had saved the world, but he had lost his simple life. The world was at peace, but his own was a complicated, beautiful mess of a burden. The war was over, but his own journey had just begun. He was no longer a pawn. He was the protector. And as the sun set, he felt the weight of the world, not as a curse, but as a promise. The story was over, and the legend had just begun.